Hello, everyone, and welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host for the show, and I would like to let everyone know that if you want to check out the show on podcast, on your favorite podcast, you can go to Spotify or you can go your Apple App Store or wherever you find it best suited for you to check out the latest podcast. But today we are live with Chad Herridge from St. John's, Newfoundland. And today, Chad Herridge is going to be talking about 3 generations of disability. Thank you so much, Chad, for joining me from I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Victoria, British Columbia, and you're on the East Coast. So west to east, sure. East to west. Yeah, different time zones, but we're all here in one place.
You're the first one from the Maritimes. So, yeah. So this is actually season 2. So you're episode 20, season 2. But we've actually in 2 seasons now we've done it's 108 episodes, and you are the first one in 108 episodes.
Awesome.
I'm glad to be the first.
To come from
I mean, we're not even Maritimes. We're different altogether because
that's true.
Ourselves the Maritimes, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, we got our own time zone. We got to be that special.
Yeah, that's true.
You're on the furthest east.
You can't go no further than me. If you are, you're going into salt water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. There's one of those always on my bucket list to go to St. John's, Newfoundland, but maybe one day. Yeah, definitely. But today,
let me know, and I'll be your guided tour.
Okay, well, awesome.
I'm Scottish. My family is Scottish, from heritage, and so I've always wanted to go to Nova Scotia, but I've never been. But I've that's on my bucket list. I've always wanted to go into Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think we're Irish, so I mean it makes sense.
Okay. Yeah,
yeah. I have a little bit of that in my family background too. A little bit of Irish, like in the Irish,
Yeah. I mean, when I lived in Winnipeg in 2004, like I had people come up to me and say, "You sound like you're from Texas." Like, God, no. I'm no further closer from, being from Texas than I am Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm not from the States. I'm from Newfoundland. I said, I'll slap you with a codfish before I hit you with a barrel wall.
Wow. Yeah. So Chad, were you born in St. John's, Newfoundland?
Yeah, I was born in what was the Grace Hospital, which is now tore down.
Oh, okay.
So I was born February 5th, 1985. And it's been a whirlwind. Like you get people talk about, you get parents that have kids that are born with disabilities. Well, I was born into a disability life because my father was disabled. Mm-hmm. So when I say I lived it my entire life, I lived it my entire life. Dad had MS. He's had multiple problems. One leg was longer than the other. So he had a boot thicker like that compared to his normal, right? Mm-hmm. And he just had multiple problems. And from heart issues, gallbladder issues. He had plates and screws in his leg where they tried to extend the bone and it didn't work out. So my father wouldn't wear shorts around people that he didn't know because you could see the plates and the screws in his leg, right? Mm-hmm. And he walked with a cane, and he had heart issues. He had cancer, and cancer's what finally got him.
Yeah.
So, and that was in 2010. So fast forward to 2012. Basically, on I think it was the same date, December the 6th. lo and behold, when I'm down St. Bon's Arena, my heart decided, hey, F you. You're going to have a major heart attack. Didn't feel nothing. Out like a light. Dead for 6 minutes.
Were you playing hockey at the time or just?
Wow.
Yeah, second time on the ice.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And we were playing against a bunch of grade. I can't remember the grade because that day is gone. I can
Yeah.
only remember up to a certain point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they were grade 6 or grade 7s, and the arena was double booked. And we said, just 2 weeks before Christmas, we all talked. We said, told our coach, why don't we just make their day, right? Let's give them a game because they were depressed that the arena was double booked and they weren't going to get the ice stones. We got 2 goalies, we got 5 or 6 players of our own. We'll just make it a day for them, make them have a good laugh, right? I said, they'll probably light us up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we played for 45 minutes, and me and the supervisor at work was the other goalie, and we decided to swap ends. And my buddy, who was from home, was on the bench, and he was bent over. He said, "I think I'm having a effing heart attack." He said, "So go away." I said, "Just drink some Gatorade." I said, "You'll be fine."
Oh, geez.
And I tapped blockers with the other goalie, and that's the last thing I remember.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
And apparently, we played for another 20 minutes. I made a save and I stayed down. And Rod, who was the other goalie, started calling me lazy and everything because we all worked at the airport. We worked with PAL Airlines, which is the airlines here in Newfoundland.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the West Coast too. They run the aerospace there for the government offshore for
Oh,
fisheries.
okay.
Yeah. So we were waiting on the United flight from New York, and it was late, of course, like normal. So he was calling me names, said, "You lazy thing, get up." He said, "You get up." And 2 other guys came down and said, "Chad, wait, okay, stop playing around now." Like the boys had their laugh and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they heard the sounds coming at me from what they told me, and when they rolled me over, I was blue.
Mm.
And that's when, it wasn't carrying on no more. It was something serious. So apparently they shocked me back 3 times in the arena. They had me brought back for the paramedics got there. And I regained consciousness in the arena, but I don't remember it. I don't remember the ambulance ride. I don't remember going to St. Clair's Hospital. I don't remember being transferred to the Health Science Center.
Oh.
The only thing I remember is waking up the next morning, which is Saturday morning now, in the CCU, hooked up to everything, and a nurse sitting on my bed. Now, what a good fright that was.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
Because, I mean, I had IVs, oxygen mask. I was, wherever they could stick you to, you were stuck. Right? And I stirred, and she said, "Good morning." I said, "I don't know if it's a good morning by the looks of this." I said, "Could you probe me anywhere else?" Oh, she said, "There's one more." I said, "Where?" I said, "I got 3 IVs. I got the oxygen mask on it."
Oh, yeah.
"Down below," she said. I said, "Wow." I said, "I hope the nurse was good looking at
Oh,
it." Because they had to catheter me up too.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But she said, "Why don't you test your eye vision?" I said, "We want to test my eye vision." She said, "You were blind yesterday when you came in this hospital." So I said, "Don't remember."
Oh, wow.
Mm.
She said, "So what can you remember?" And like I just said, I said, "The last thing I remember is tapping the blockers of Rod and swap names, and that's it." So it was later she told me that I've had a major heart attack. I was clinically dead for 6 minutes, and I was shot 3 times, and whatever, I was brought back. So then when they went in and done the dye test, it was found out that I have 5 blockages at the time. So I had to get a stent. Now, that was passed on from my father, who got it passed on from his mother.
Oh.
Right? So when the cardiologist come in who knew my dad at the time, he went back out and he come back in. He said, "I looked at your father's fall." He said, "I remembers you when you was a kid." Yeah, so that's never a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then you fast forward to 2017, still at PAL, working away, and I couldn't even walk around a plane, a Dash 8 with a pylon without having these weird pains in my chest. So I said, I got to get checked out. There's something on the go, and I don't know what it is. So I got tested for COPD, tested for acid reflux, and it just come to the point where my doctor phone. I went on vacation actually, to home, and I come back, and the doctor's office phoned me. He said, "Can you come down and see me?" I said, "Yep, I can." So I strolled on down to the doctor's. I was only 2 minutes away from the house.
Hmm.
And come in, he said, "Sit down." He said, "We got to have a serious discussion." So, "Oh, okay." He said, "We know what's going on with you." Okay. "Well, what is it?" He said, "Well, now you've got 8 blockages,
Mm.
having stable angina attacks. That's what the pain is that you're having." So he said,
Oh.
"I am making the decision to terminate you from work." I
Mhm.
said, "Well,
Hmm.
what do you mean terminate me from work? What am I supposed to do?" He said, "We're going to apply for disability for you." So, and knowing what you had to go through for disability, because Dad was on it and off on it and back on it again, I knew I was going to be in for a water hurt, right? You know, I mean, let me show you something. So that was in 2017. Oh, knock everything down now.
Mhm.
We started applying for CPPD.
Hmm.
This is all the paperwork
Oh
Yeah,
that
my
I
God.
yeah.
to
I've
prove,
That's a
I've
lot of
seen some of it.
paperwork.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, to prove to them,
1,000 pages there.
yeah, to prove to them that I'm disabled. My doctor wrote a letter saying I cannot return to work
Mhm.
because an accident will surely happen. I mean, I'm working around airplanes that are worth millions, if not billions of dollars with people in them. All the
Yeah.
people's lives are in my hands, you
Mhm.
know, and workers' comp even wrote a letter said I would not be covered. And they were still saying, "No, Chad could go work at a security guard." I said, "Well, I pitied the poor store because I won't chase him."
Yeah,
I said, "I can't do it,"
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I've talked to, I done a questionnaire or an online Zoom meeting with Deloitte Canada there earlier the winter, fall. And when I told them I applied for CPPD and my doctor applied for ME, September 2017,
Mhm.
I got it November 2019.
Wow, 2-year delay.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
It's crazy.
That's inexcusable. It really is.
It
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah,
Inexcusable.
yeah. I mean,
I went to the MP's office, and the MP at the time was a liberal. Not saying I'm not putting
yeah,
liberal against conservative or NDP or nothing,
yeah,
but I went there and it was like they couldn't be bothered.
yeah.
Like this is
It,
what you're there for, to help your people.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're
You
supposed to
know,
be.
they're supposed to
Back,
be.
back, back in uh, back in 2002, Gordon Campbell, BC Liberals,
Yep.
here in BC, he made everybody on disability reapply
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
what you already proved that you
for their
are.
disability, and it's so disrespectful because not only are you disrespecting people with disabilities, you're actually doing one better by disrespecting all of the doctors that
Well,
Yeah.
that's what
already medically assessed all these like thousands of patients and said,
Yep.
yes, this patient is
Yep.
disabled. And
well,
the
that's what
government
happened
turns
well,
around and
that's what
says,
happened to
we
me,
don't
though.
care what the doctor says. We want everybody reassessed again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what happened to me, Neil and Chad.
Yeah.
My doctor had already designated me as a person with a permanent disability from
Mhm.
birth, and he said it's not going away, Brent. Politicians want disability to go away
Yep.
because because their stakeholders tell them, hey, just get them a job. Tell them a job is
Yeah.
the best solution. Well, a job is not going to fix your disability. If you can't do the job, then yeah, I mean that's why you're disabled. I mean you're designated as a person with disability, and you're right, Neil. Like when the that government administration was in power, they just wanted to find ways of cutting costs right across multiple ministries, and one of them was the Ministry of Social Services back then, what it was called. And my doctor was beyond himself. He was like almost, if I could just visualize, put it in, people who could be listening to a podcast, just think of a doctor foaming at the mouth. I mean, he was beyond livid, and he told me to get out of his office. Like he was so mad. He said, "Brent, just get out of my office." He said, "You're wasting my time." And then he got on the phone. He started yelling at the government. He says, "You're wasting my time. You're wasting my patience. I have zero patience." And he said, "I will do a lawsuit against you if you actually don't back off." And I thought, well, my doctor actually paid for me to go and have lunch. He actually sent me over. He sent me over to McDonald's next door.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh," and I said, "Oh, please don't," because my tummy doesn't like. It gets really upset when I eat stuff like really saturated foods, and as part of my disability too, so I have to be careful what I eat. I mean, yeah, I can still eat certain things, and I shouldn't eat certain things. I mean, everyone probably eats things that they shouldn't, but I know what when I'm what my system likes and what doesn't. But anyway, long story short, for my story, and it kind of correlates with what you're going through and what you went through. It's the governments are not listening. They're not listening to doctors, and doctors are the ones who put the patient through diagnostic testing. I had to go through very, very vigorous testing, and that was the conclusion. And now the government of the day, like they look back and they say, yeah, I guess we shouldn't have done that. Well, now
they're just like, whoops.
Now fast forward, they wanted to redo all their legislation. And but there's people who are on income assistance, and there's people who are on disability assistance. It used to be pension one time, just so people would, listening and understanding that. Well, why isn't it not still a pension? Well, because again, Neil will explain that in a few minutes. It was there's people that are on income assistance that are disabled, that they don't have a family doctor or a practitioner who can sign all the documents to diagnose them. So they're sitting on income assistance. Now the government of the day is now saying, oh, well, they want them to opt into a new legislation, Bill 7, saying they want them to opt into a employment plan, okay, and then it's like an agreement, almost like a contract. Now saying that they're still going to get their income though. Apparently, it hasn't come into effect yet though. This legislation, they still have to debate it. Now that person on income assistance now will still get their money, but if they don't comply, if the minister feels that that job is not suited for them, and if they say, oh, I can't do it, well, if the minister feels that yes, they can do it, and they say, no, I can't, now they're going to take that money away. They're going to claw it off you until you actually do what they say.
Yeah.
Now that person can be disabled, waiting to be on disability assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be up to the minister to have the final say. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that's my story, and then kind of the updated of what's going on with the legislation. But people with disabilities, they're actually leaving that alone. Like it was always in place, but they just never enforced it. So they're relaxing that part. So there's good, there's bad.
Yeah, but that's what I'm actually worried about. Like supposedly they are relaxing a lot of things, and I do believe it in a sense. But in another way, like whenever you're fixing things or changing things, you're actually adding more layers of oversight, really, right?
Yes.
So it's actually another layer of complication. So it's another layer of potential oversight. So you're actually, potentially making it work. I know that the intent is to make it better, but the potential's there to actually make it worse because you're increasing the amount of oversight. You know what I mean?
Well, it took me 2 years, and I was turned down twice for CPPD, and I was getting ready to go to the tribunal, and I had the lawyer up. The only reason I got this because the lawyer told me, he said, because of the lawyer, they told me they're not going to approve you because of your age. I was 28 at the time. They didn't want me in their system that long. Yeah. And down in our province here in Newfoundland, we don't even have a disability funded program.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
You're on social, and I've been saying this now for a little while. Down here, we got social services. That's it. And we all know the way people look at social services. But a disabled person like my son is nonverbal, he's autistic. I don't know what the future holds for him.
That's your third generation.
That's my third generation.
I titled the show, just so you're aware, I titled the show 3 Generations of Disability. So,
yes. Yeah. So that's the third generation. And where it comes into play is, so if he doesn't break out of his nonverbal and is not able to work, so he'll end up on social services. And it shouldn't be, because way people are judged when they're on social services is totally different than he should be on a disability funded program, whether it's through Newfoundland Labrador government or the government of Canada. because
Yep.
he's disabled. There's a reason why he can't do this. There's a reason
Yeah.
why. And I'm not ashamed to say he got a disability.
Exactly.
You know?
Nobody should be ashamed of their
No.
disability. Yeah.
No. And
Yeah.
buddy, I tell you, I've been stared at, and
Mhm.
I've gone up and faced a few people by just
Yeah.
parking in a handicap spot. I had people come up to me and say,
Yeah.
"You shouldn't be parking there." Well, the sign
Yeah.
is in my windshield with my name on it.
You
Maybe
don't
should
look
mind your own
disabled.
business.
You don't look
Exactly.
disabled. You're
Yeah.
only 28. How can you be disabled at that 28?
At the time, right? Well, I
Yeah.
had an elderly woman. She come up to me. She said, "You don't look disabled." I said, "Well, my love," I said, "you don't look like you're pregnant either." I said, "But that's besides the point." I said, "That sign there got my name on it." I said, "I'm allowed to park there." And
Mhm.
when I was told to apply for that sign, I even told motor registration I didn't want it because I said I knew it was going to bring on
Stigma.
yeah, stigma
Stigma.
because I don't look sick.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I said, but if they want to trade their heart for mine, I said they could go right ahead because I mean I got that much restricted blood flow with 8 blockages. You know, like it doesn't take much for me to have an angina attack once a day. I mean, I probably have 5 or 6, depending on what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
Well, and again, like we were kind of alluding to, Brent, like it was the early 90s, up until the early 90s here in BC,
Mm.
everybody on disability had pensions. It was guaranteed. It was guaranteed income. It was a pension for
Yeah.
everybody with the disability. And we've talked about this before, Brent. Why was it a pension? Because it used to be that disabilities were a respected thing. That's the bottom line. It used to be
Used to be.
that disabilities were a respected thing, and somewhere in the early 90s that changed. I think it was 92.
94.
Well, yeah, 92 93 is that's when they started to phase it out, and then it was Mike Harcourt,
Mhm.
lovely Mike Harcourt, NDP premier here.
That he didn't like disabled people.
Yeah, he had a news conference. It was the 6 o'clock news here in
Mhm.
he had all these cameras set up. He said everybody on disability is a cheat, varmint, and deadbeat. Cheat, varmint, and
Wow.
those words came out of his mouth. Everybody on disability is a cheat,
Despicable.
varmint. Actually, he used the word welfare, but he's including disability when he says welfare. So
Mhm.
everybody on welfare is a cheat, varmint, and deadbeat. And those words came out of a British Columbia premier. You know, let's repeat that again. Those words, cheat, varmint, and deadbeat, came out of the mouth of a BC premier. And I don't think he's ever apologized for that. I don't think he's ever apologized for that. And the same thing goes for Gordon Campbell when he forced all those people, like thousands of people, to get reassessed. And we should say that some of those people committed suicide, right? Because
Yes, he did.
they were so distraught. There was actually some that committed suicide.
Yeah.
And there was
Sadly.
no public apology from the government then either. And this, again, this is 2002.
Yeah.
And here you have a government that's going to supersede medical opinion, the medical opinion of doctors, and said we don't believe the medical opinion of doctors. We want to get everybody reassessed again because I've got a big ego. That's what Gordon Campbell thought. I have a big ego, and I'm gonna show my big ego that I know better than a doctor.
Right.
And it costs people lives.
Yeah.
And it costs
it's
people a
ridiculous.
lot of stress.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, to me, we're no better off now.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I had a friend of mine, and sadly, he did commit suicide. Yeah, because of that reason, and someone that I know, which I won't mention the name, but very strong advocate, and yeah, like he'll still even hold the current government account, to make sure that the people are well taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the way we fast forward to now, and I mean, with this new benefit coming out, with the lack of action.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, I mean, it's enough to piss you off where our current minister She don't even talk about it. I calls her the minister of everything else besides dealing with a
Yeah.
disability.
Yeah.
Car thefts are more important to her, for God's sakes. You know?
Well, and
Yeah.
again, we kind of touched on this, is that what's missing is, again, the respect of people with disabilities, and
oh, there's no
and the way you show respect is you would have every province should have a dedicated ministry of disabilities.
An
Every
office.
but there should be a dedicated ministry, a provincial ministry for all the provinces, a dedicated
we got the ministry. He don't do nothing. He's by MHA from out home. He don't do nothing.
Provincial one? The
provincial disability minister.
Okay.
But we got no benefit. The only benefit in Newfoundland for anything to do with disability is the special child welfare benefit. That's for kids like James, which I eventually got turned down for. Hello. Autistic nonverbal, because he doesn't require a respite worker, which is not a requirement of the special welfare child benefit in Newfoundland Labrador, but they turned me down because he doesn't need a respite worker. I'm home. I don't need somebody to come into my home to look after him. I could do that much.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
You know best. Yeah. I mean, you know better than they do.
You know, we went through ABA for autism. The first session was perfect. The ABA therapist, she was a dog. And she done marvelous with James because she was hands-on, she was focused, she'd be in the swimming pool with him, she would do everything with him. But then we had another one. I mean, then COVID struck and she couldn't be here. So then we had another one. She was on air for a couple of months and she went on her way. And then we had a third one during COVID. And I mean, she was a germaphobe. She would come into our house, stranger's house, 2 masks, face shield, and James was looking at her, and say, well, what the tarnation is this? Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't a good time to have ABA if you're a germaphobe with COVID.
Yeah.
And we just got turned from it. And like, to me, a respite worker is going to be pretty much similar to what an ABA therapist is.
Yeah.
And he was telling me in his body language that, I had enough of this, Dad. Because he was screaming, and James is a very mannered kid. Even though he can't talk, he's still very mannered, and he's very quiet. But when he starts screaming to me, like downstairs, to me, that's a sign that, okay, well, he don't want to be at this no more. You know.
I'm glad that you had mentioned, Chad, about the Canada Disability Benefit. There's a lot of the advocacy organizations across Canada have basically had their input. I was just reading this yesterday, and the pushback that these organizations are getting. I'm not even going to repeat some of the language that's in there, because they're asking for less. They're asking for less. But the poverty level of Canada is like when COVID was full blown. I still remember the day Sonia would joke around. She says, "Oh, let's go and watch the Justin Trudeau show. Justin Trudeau's on." I said, "Okay." News hours on, boom, breaking news, and Justin Trudeau comes out of his little retreat area and comes at the podium, and every sector of society he would mention about people, businesses, seniors, but people with disabilities was the last thing that he had mentioned. And he said, finally, we're going to get a benefit out to help the most vulnerable. He didn't want to say people with disabilities. Oh my gosh, no. So now 4 years later, we're still waiting. But anyway, the organizations are calling for no more than $22,007. So you divide that into 12 months. That's less than $500 as a top up. So it's going to bring up people's income up to $18,000 something dollars, as if it even goes through. Now the national poverty level is 2107. That was actually last a year ago or 2 years ago. Now, when Mr. Trudeau came out and actually said during COVID that $2,000 for CERB was enough for a basic standard, that wasn't even including people with disabilities. That was just a national standard of living. So by accepting, the advocacy groups accepting or recommending that that the rate should be less than that. I mean, wow.
Because they're not listening to us. These are groups that are supposed to represent us. I mean, there's 2 here in Newfoundland. We got Inclusion NL, I'm a member of, and we got Coalition Against People with Disabilities. Don't even hear tell them. They
Yeah.
don't hear, you don't hear tell them mentioning nothing. But I mean, like, to me, the way I read it, I thought that 22,700 was on top of what everybody's getting now. If it is,
Yeah.
okay, we can work with it. Because I mean, what was the point of all these roundtables that we have with Inclusion Canada when we said what should be in the benefit, how much the benefit should be? As far as I'm concerned, we've done the work for these guys.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
We designed the bill ourselves, but why waste the time if you're not going to listen to it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the rate should actually be, that should be on top. They're
Yes.
not a supplement.
Yeah.
It should be on top of the
Yeah.
That's right.
existing provincial programs and territorial provinces.
Yep.
It should be on top because
That's
people
right.
with disabilities have more ongoing expenses, and
Yep.
people that have disabilities that are on income assistance. I want the government to listen to this. I need you to get the people that are on income assistance off income assistance onto permanent disability.
Bingo.
We need you now to change it to a permanent disability pension. Okay,
Yep.
going forward, any provinces that don't have disability in their province, you need to implement that in as a ministry and make it as a sole ministry for people with disabilities in Canada. Enough of this red tape BS. Let's just get it done.
It's bad enough that you become disabled, but you shouldn't be punished.
Exactly.
There's not enough politicians with the lived experience.
No.
Totally.
I mean, there are some,
Yes.
but you and I, Brent, can name one MLA, and we won't mention her name because
No,
I'm not about to throw anybody under the bus.
No.
But I mean, she was kind of awful. I'll just say, I mean, she was one of those people with disabilities that it was like, well, you know, if you can't be like me, a Paralympian, and you know, if you can't be like me, like, what's your problem, you know, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, that helps no one. That helps no one when you deliberately go around trying to screw people over, like, and she also got rid of the annual bus pass. She was the one. I mean, it's on public record that she was the one that
Mhm.
pulled the trigger on it.
That was her idea.
It was nobody else's idea but hers. So
Mhm.
it was her idea to basically screw over everybody in the province that had a disability, saying, "Well, you don't need the annual bus pass. We'll just get rid of that."
It was only a small little number of people in a rural area who
Yeah.
didn't have conventional transit. Where those
So-
individuals were able to maybe save up that they could get all that money and maybe buy their car insurance. They could do a lump sum payment and buy say if they were able to drive in a rural area, buy a car insurance, or they could pay a neighbor, whatever it is. And so
Yeah.
the minister at the time, Chad, had said, well, I heard from a group of people, so we need to change the whole system.
I consulted 5 people, and
Yeah.
5 people told me it was a bad, like, literally 5 people. 5 people told her it was a bad idea. So she just
Yeah.
killed off the whole thing for like thousands of people. And so,
Yeah.
well, that's a great idea. That's me being an advocate.
But
You
the
know?
seniors still have their same bus pass, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, down here we got a seniors advocate, we got a child youth advocate, but there's no disability advocate.
Mhm.
No.
I've been
Oh.
told by a few MHAs that it's in the works, but I believe it when I see it.
Mhm.
Last year in August, the government of Newfoundland and Labrador announced their 5-step reduction in poverty. So whatever it was, whatever the 5 steps was, I can't remember now. Some of them was okay. They're going to boost their portion of the senior benefit by 10%. So
Oh.
and so that was fine for the seniors. Yes, God love them, because I know my mother's getting old age security and she's not getting much. You know, they deserve to get their fair
Yeah.
share of it too. But
Exactly.
I mean, when they done their 5-step plan, people with disabilities wasn't even mentioned.
Yeah.
We were left out in the cold altogether. We didn't get a cent. And right now, I've joined the inclusion committee for Portugal Cove St. Philip's through the town, and I'm on that committee. And one fellow works with Inclusion NL. It's different Inclusion Newfoundland Labrador. It's Empower NL or something. I don't know why we have 2 inclusions NL, but we do. But
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, a majority of these groups, yes, they're there to represent us, but they're not doing nothing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
talk
it-
is cheap.
especially when asking for less than the
That's right.
bare minimum. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
at least get it up to like
Yes.
one of the advocates said he's gone across Canada up to Ontario as far as there, and touring across and bringing the awareness that no less. He says no
Yes.
less, no more than the poverty level, but needs to tie it to inflation.
Yes.
Right? But they're not
Yeah.
even, these organizations are asking for less. Like, why would they
Yeah.
ask for less? You know?
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, in the roundtable discussions I was in with Inclusion Canada, there was a few of us there. We all agreed that it was 2,500 plus 10%.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
what was needed on top of what everybody is on top of everybody's current benefit right now.
Yeah, I remember hearing about
Yeah.
that in one of the meetings on that too.
Yeah.
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 I mean-
The number that gets thrown around now is $2,200
Yeah.
maximum $2,200 maximum as a top up. So
Yes.
that's way different than the $2,500 non-top up, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, because
Yeah.
they need to clarify if they're going for after a top up or if it's going to be
Mhm.
added
On top.
on. You know, is it going to be our benefit plus the 2,500, or is
Yeah.
it just going to be one smack dab total? Because if it
Yeah,
is,
they're being
what we're all
very
fighting
vague
for
on that.
is not worth the cause.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
You know?
yeah, I mean, especially with the especially with the high rents, Chad, across Canada. I mean, I just heard this morning on our news they're saying that out in Western Canada and BC, we're the highest priced in Canada now. And
Mhm.
now we're actually approaching almost the worst in North America. That's not very good.
No,
Yeah.
and I don't think we're too far behind on the East Coast
No, I know.
from you guys. And I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
I'm lucky I bought this house when I went to work at Pell. And okay, that was back in 08. So I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I still don't own the sucker, but I mean, through I don't know if you call it luck or bad draw, like I had to sue for my CPPD, so they owe me
Mhm.
money. I had to sue an insurance company that I was insured through work. I can't name them because you know,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
allowed to name them. So, you know, I consider myself one of the luckier ones that's on disability, but I did have to battle for what I had to get. You
Mhm.
know, it did
Mhm.
cost me $50,000 by the time it was all said and done for lawyer fees,
Yeah.
which should never be.
No.
Exactly.
No.
You know, if you're disabled, you're disabled. Now I know that they gotta watch the system because there are people that break the rules and blah blah blah. I know
Yeah.
that. I can understand that. But
Yeah.
when you got medical evidence from a doctor, from a cardiologist, from
Mhm.
workers' comp, and they still say no, but
Yeah.
do you need a letter from God?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
Well-
that's the only other way you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I
we've got
said
to.
before that they're mandated to say no.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Prove
we've
me
got
wrong.
a serious
Yeah,
problem.
they'll say
Government
no
will-
like 3 or 4 times, and then
Yeah.
maybe, after the 5th time, say yes. I'm kind of like you, Chad. I don't know if you know, but I've actually tried to do 4 different tribunals or human rights complaints against the social development ministry here in BC.
Mhm.
And the last one I haven't got a response back yet. So it's been 4 or 5. I think this one might be a 4 or 5. I kind of lost count. But anyway, this last one I haven't got a reply back yet. But
Now, is that the council in Ottawa, the tribunal in Ottawa?
yeah, well, no, it's I'm doing the provincial. It's a
okay.
provincial one.
Mhm.
And every time I do the complaint, I get the reply back. At least the last 3 replies I got back was, it's not discrimination, Neil. It's only unfair. And they basically say that as long as essentially I had a guy tell me on the phone, it's like a tribunal chair tell me on the phone that as long as the discrimination is equally applied, like for example, as long as we also claw back the pension, like I have a survivor's pension being clawed back every month. So he's saying as long as we claw back an old woman's pension as well as yours, a person with a disability, it's not discrimination because it's discrimination that's being equal. I mean, he didn't use the word. I'm adding that. I'm adding that,
Yeah.
of course, right?
Well, but still,
But he basically said, well, as long as we're equally applying, as long as we're equally applying the prejudice,
Mhm.
then it's not discrimination. And I thought, what are you smoking?
Yes, sir. Because whatever it is gone moldy.
And my thing from the very beginning, this has been over 10 years, like 10 and a half years for me. This whole battle started 10 and a half years ago. And my whole thing is, let's talk truth. If you claw back a pension is supposed to be it's in the DNA that it's a protected income. It's protected, right? It's a guaranteed protected income. And if it's a guaranteed protected income, a provincial government should not be allowed to touch it. That's common sense.
Clawback should never exist in Canada or anywhere.
But
exactly,
I mean,
right?
They don't want to talk.
One of my payouts.
They don't want to talk about the truth of it. Like that, it's like, well, we can just pervert the pension and whatever. But the truth of it is, they're invalidating something that is supposed to be a protected, guaranteed income, and under the definition of a pension, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
No. And that's like when I said, like when I had my payout from the insurance, from CPP, when the insurance company said, well, you're not getting all that lump sum because we're going to claw some back now. So I had lawyer fees come out of it. Then I had a clawback from the insurance company. So, I mean, by the time I walked away with my little payment was probably only $10,000.
Yeah.
For 2 years. Well, actually, it was for two and a half, because when they sent me the payout, and not word of a lie, when I lawyered up, I say it was only a matter of a week for somebody from CPP Canada phoned me and said, "Oh, we approved you." So, pretty good. All because I got a lawyer.
Yeah.
Wow.
I said, it should never have to come to that. And she apologized to me because I was driving and she phoned and she said, I answered the phone. She said, "Do you have time to talk?" I said, "I could pull over North Atlantic." I said, "Yeah." So she said, "I'm phoning you today to finally say that you've been accepted to CBPD." She said, "And I apologize that it took so long."
Wow.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad to get it over with. I said, because, I said, there's been times that I was ready to make away with myself because I said, this is crazy. What you guys put people through.
Yeah. And
all the red tape, all the rigmarole.
And all the governments across Canada, basically all they say is whoops. That's all they say is whoops,
I would phone CPP one day, especially when I was dealing with the tribunal, because I probably went, I don't know, half a year before the tribunal got the paperwork from CPPD Canada, from Service Canada, about my case, so they could schedule a hearing, because I wanted to get this done. And every day you phone them, they're like, "No, we got nothing yet." I said, "Boys, how hard is it to fax the paperwork from one office to another?" I said, "You're probably next door to each other for all I know."
Could probably go and hand deliver it faster. I'm
like, this is crazy. I'm like, this is my life. This is my income.
Yeah.
I mean, what more do I need to do?
Until it affects their lives, right? I mean,
that's right.
Taking away their pensions and stuff. Oh no.
No.
But they give themselves a 4% wage increase though automatically every year.
Yeah. So thankfully, the owner of, I'm going to say the lawyer firm, McGovern Law in Nova Scotia, he took over my case and it was smooth sailing. He said, "Don't you worry about a thing. You've been through enough."
Well, that's good.
And I felt a big relief out of that.
Yeah.
So, and I've hooked up with Jeff, who's with you guys, and I've given him Jamie's number to see if we could do something about getting this CDD, Canada Disability Benefit moving, because we waited long enough, and yes, our rates. I look at our rates. Our rates probably gone up in the last 3 years of 17% probably. But when our rates are so low, that 17% is nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I wanted to say is, you mentioned a really important point there, Chad, is that not all lawyers are willing to take on that, right?
No.
Because I tried to get a lawyer or see if I could, and the last time I tried, it was like, "Go away, Neil. Go away, Neil. We don't want to talk to you, Neil. Go away." So any lawyer that is willing to take that on, God bless them. Like seriously, God bless them, because I know that a lot of lawyers will not touch it. They will not touch it because they're afraid of the big bad government, you know, and they don't want to touch it. So
well, I don't think Jamie, as far as I'm concerned, from what he went through with me, you know, God love him, right?
Hats off to him, because it's hats off to him. Yeah.
He's a good fellow. Like, I mean, when he took over my case from CBPD, and when he said to me, he said, "Now he knows you're going to have trouble with Great West Life too, probably." He said, "Well, when the time comes, you let me know." Sure enough, he was right. He hit nail on top dead. And soon I phoned him. He said, "I was waiting for your phone call, actually."
Wow.
And he dealt with him. Yeah. Now, did I get the settlement that I wanted? No, but you know, I've got enough that I was okay with closing the case. Just get it done, get it off my hair.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Because like get the headache done with, and just let me just live my life. And
let me move on. Because I mean, with that came a loss of life insurance, because that was my insurance provider. I lost all that. So, you know, you had to give a little, take a little.
Yeah, for me, like I said, for me, it's been like 10.5 years, this battle. And it's got to the point now that I almost don't even care about the money. It's the principle of it, right?
Yeah.
It's the principle of it. It's like, I want the government to speak truth.
Yes.
that a pension is supposed to be a protected, respected, guaranteed income. That's what a pension is. So speak truth about it, because if you don't speak truth about it, it becomes a pink unicorn, like we always say.
Just like the one right behind me.
If you don't speak truth, it becomes a pink unicorn. And I don't like pink unicorns, you know?
No,
I don't like pink unicorns. So I want the government to speak truth and say that all pensions are supposed to be a respected, protected, guaranteed income. And if they're not that, then they're a pink unicorn, and pink unicorns suck. You know, pink unicorns should not exist. They should be gone, eradicated.
Oh yeah.
The system is stuck back in the 80s, as far as I'm concerned. It needs a major upgrade. And no better way could they get their information is from listening to people like us. But they don't want to do that. They'd rather go to their groups, their advocacy groups, who don't want to listen to us, and they're supposed to represent us.
They're 4 or 5 people, like the bus pass. I talked to 4 or 5 people, and they said,
exactly. And who are the 4 or 5 people? Top CEOs, or you know, like
Justin Trudeau just announced $1.5 billion for a rentals protection market in Winnipeg just now on the news. And I'm looking, and I'm like, man, we're not getting our benefit come next week.
No,
you can see the writing on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're not even going to put no money towards it.
It's April 16, right? It's April 16. We'll see what happens.
Well, you see,
I don't think
in the BC government, though, Chad, is that they didn't want to give a raise increase to people with disabilities in the province of British Columbia, because they're waiting on feds to make a decision. Now, here's a newsflash for the government. It ain't going to happen. Even if they do make an announcement in the federal budget, that will not take effect for another whole year after, because they have regulations that have to be done, and they got 1 year to implement that income in. So in 2025, the year of the federal election year, oh boy, carrot trick. We're going to put it in the budget. So now people with disabilities have to wait this year plus all of next year.
And I've emailed the president of the NDP party. She is currently running for the seat here in St. John's East.
Oh,
and I've messaged her a good email, and and she agreed with me. And I said, why has the NDP all of a sudden dropped us off the face of the earth? Because you don't hear tell of a soul anymore. You don't hear tell of MP Bonita Zanera. I can't pronounce her name. Bonita.
Bonita Zarello, yes.
You don't hear tell none of them no more. And then she put up a post saying that the Canada Disability, that they got it. Okay, well, yes, okay. I know you got the Canada Disability benefit, but we still haven't got nothing. We still haven't received nothing. So don't put
the money's not there. The money's not there,
The money is not there. It's not in their bank accounts. And Pillar 1 of the Canada Disability benefit was to help people with disabilities for financial aid. They skipped that pillar. They went on to the next.
You know, I find it so ironic about the Canada Disability Benefit too. When it was first brought out, announced, it was going to
Yeah.
help millions of people. Then it
Yeah.
went down to hundreds of thousands of people.
Now we're down
Then down to tens of thousands of people. Now they're changing the language again, saying,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it could be millions of people again. Okay,
Yeah.
well, what is it here? Flip flop, flip
They're all
flop.
over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't even know what they're doing.
And the new minister don't update the community. I mean, we
No.
don't know
No.
more now what's going on with benefit than we did 4 years ago.
No,
Yeah.
apparently she blocks people on social
Oh,
media.
she
for
do?
asking
Oh,
questions.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
posts fail all the time when I tag her. I don't know why. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's about accountability. I mean, it's like, you know, there's nothing wrong with asking a general question of
That's it.
Could you give me an update of what's happening
Yep.
with it? And apparently some people asked the actual question. Can
Yep.
can you please answer of when this will be brought into
Implement.
fruition? Block,
Yeah.
apparently. Like, really? Like, is that what we do to disabled people? We block them?
Yeah. And I mean, my posts are not mean in general. I'm not cursing
No.
nobody out. I'm not
Yeah.
calling nobody names.
Yeah.
I'm just stating the facts because it affects me, it affects my family,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it affects all the people that I know.
The ripple
We
effect.
want to know where we stand. Where is the current process of this bill? Just
Yeah.
let us know.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
one of my neighbors though, Neil, is I was just talking to this morning, and I said, I have you know, Chad coming on from you know, St. John's, Newfoundland. Oh, cool, yeah. And we were talking about the Canada Disability Benefit just briefly. And you know what one of my neighbors said? You know, there's Pinocchio and then there's Super Pinocchio. I'm like, what? Yeah. Is it? Yeah. And they said that's the government, Pinocchio, and then there's Super Pinocchio.
Yeah.
I kind of lost it. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, well, then there's a lie saying, yeah, we're going to get it. And then we're not. And it's going to go to so many people. And then and I think part of the problem too is that, and I really worry about the problem is that the government's going to use the DTC as a stumbling block.
yeah.
And they're going to say, oh, yeah, we need to do better. We'll fix that. It's only going to go to so many people, and not everybody's going to get it. And I know that one of the MPs for the Green Party, MP Mike Maurice from Kitchener, Ontario, I know
Now
that
that's a true MP. I
yeah.
wish we had
No,
him.
he's great.
Yeah.
He is
He's
great.
wicked,
he had
man.
mentioned that he does not
Yeah.
want the DTC to be part of the criteria. He wants it to go to everybody on provincial and territorial disability automatically, and even also everyone that does get the DTC, but not as a requirement. Every single disabled person to get it automatically, and it's not hard to figure out who gets it, because when people file their income taxes every year, little news flash here, government. When you file your income tax, it's the T2007. Yes, T5007. Yes, that form, Revenue Canada knows who is on disability. They know what your income is. They know. They've got the stats. So when the government says, "Oh, well, we can't figure out who it needs to go to,"
They don't want to do it.
no. So even if let's just say that they couldn't figure that part out. I mean, they could, but just say they couldn't. All they have to do is send over to the finance department for each province.
Yeah.
Minister of Finance. They know who's on disability, who's on income assistance, and
and they could go to the CPPD department and find out who's on the federal regulated program.
Exactly.
It's easy to do. They just don't want to do the homework.
No.
Right?
Exactly. I mean, a 2-year-old could figure it out.
I wanted to do two things. I noticed that Chad has got a cup from our sponsor. I think I saw.
Oh.
Is it Tim Hortons? Is it
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
There you go.
And the other thing is, Chad, a little while ago, you said that this thing is affecting you, so of course you're going to be passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I've whenever you advocate for anything, self-advocate for anything, sometimes the emotions get in the way. I mean, I can say for myself, like in my 10.5-year battle, like I would send some angry emails. I've sent my share of angry emails, and maybe there's a couple things that I said that might have been a little bit out of line, but that's the emotions speaking. Because it's hard,
raw, man.
Well, because you're being
raw and it's hard to stay within the line sometimes. But I have tried. Like I really try to remove the emotions out of it and just speak truth.
Yeah.
And I think over as every year's gone on, I've gotten better and better at, taking the emotions out of it and just speaking truth, and not getting so attack doggy,
Yeah.
if that's the word. But
Yes.
it's hard. It's really hard
It
because,
is.
like you said, Chad, it's your life.
Yes.
And it feels like people are just messing with it. They're like, well, who cares? It
Well,
doesn't
you
affect,
didn't ask to be
doesn't
put
affect
in this
me. So
position, but
What's
they
that?
want to
Yeah.
punish you because you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'd rather be working. I don't want to be home. This is not
Yeah.
a lifestyle I signed up for. But it's the cards that I've been dealt, and I
Yeah.
got to play them.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
for the last 2 years, I'm after having to unlock money from my private pension from PAL. I mean, just to top up my pay from CPPD.
Yeah.
I got no other choice. I got 2 kids there that I got to feed. I got to
Yeah.
put a roof over their head. I mean,
Yeah.
last year James's medical expenses was $4,500.
Yeah.
Come out of my pocket. I don't
Yeah.
get no government help with them. Yes, we get his DTC, we get his child allowance, but in the last 3 years, I have lost $350 within the last 3 years belonged to that little boy.
Yeah.
And nobody cares to respond, right? Like my MP don't respond.
Yeah.
You could write whoever. They won't respond. I wrote Peter Julian. I wrote them all. Automatic reply, and that's all you get.
Yeah, I used to get the same emails back. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Auto reply, and we'll get back to you, or whatever. Nope.
The only one that will reply back, and God loving, is Mike Maurice.
Yeah. I remember one time way back when they were developing the Canada Disability Benefit. I was invited to be on as a speaker as one of the committees. Guess what? 4 years later, newsflash, where? Yep, still waiting.
They're not in a hurry to do it. They probably already got the work done. They just don't want to release it.
Oh yeah, it's
Well,
sitting on some dusty shelf somewhere right
How
now.
hard is it to figure out the amount that people should get? It's not that hard. I mean, when we all come out and said, we all pretty much come out and said the same number, ballpark wise, it should be 2,500 plus 10%.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's done. So move on to the next one.
And it's the same thing with the CRPD. I mean, they signed on to it back in 2010, and 14 years later, and they've done nothing.
No.
Oh yeah, the Canadian Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and it was signed on the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I got the terminology right there. Again, all the rights are being violated. But hey, the government says, well, we're going to do a complete overhaul in BC, Neil. Complete overhaul. Well, I don't see a complete overhaul. It's magic words. It's like saying pink unicorn. Well, look, hey, we're just going to do it. Just poof. It's like, no.
It's a rearranging of the deck chairs. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
If any government really wanted to lift people out of poverty, they would eliminate poverty immediately. And by just tweaking things, to me, not giving an increase or clawing back, that actually is increasing poverty. It doesn't actually eliminate it.
Yeah, let's go back to 1992 or earlier when people with disabilities had pensions. Imagine that. People with disabilities had pensions. I would love that. I would love to go back to 1992 or earlier and actually have a pension. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great to have a respected pension?
A week ago, I was Chad. A week ago, I was actually at a bus stop. I was walking by. I walked around our block, and it's so nice and quiet down some of the side roads. It's so nice and peaceful. Listen to the birds chirping, and there was a elderly guy. I just struck up a conversation because he was talking about seniors' pensions, and I said, well, people with disabilities. He goes, what? They have pensions, I guess, and he didn't know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
He thought that people with disabilities have pensions. I go, nope.
Yeah,
it's kind of correlates what we're talking about.
I don't know if this is where their idea of the disability tax credit is a pension.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
because but it's only good for people who got it. Now I got one.
Yeah,
James got one. But what I laugh at every year, Service Canada will send me a letter saying, if you invest so much money into your DTC, we'll match that. Okay. So last year they sent me 2 letters, one for me, one for James. So they wanted me to put in, I can't remember what it was now, They wanted me to put 6,300 into one, it was either mine or James, and then they want me to put 4,500 into another one.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's my total amount for the year that I get on CPPD. I'm like, what am I supposed to live on? Like,
Yeah.
why would you even write the letter?
Yeah,
Like,
what are you
that's
supposed to live?
stupid.
Yeah. You're supposed to get that money from a pink unicorn tree, I guess.
Right?
Yeah, the one
Like,
behind. Yeah.
what am I supposed to live
Lots
off?
of
And you
them.
want me to invest my money into the DTC? Like, hello?
Yeah.
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 How am
Well,
I
I
supposed
mean,
to
that's just
live?
like the disability savings plan.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, I put money into that.
Yeah.
But like I did the one-time payment. It was like to open it up, you have to put in like $1,500.
Mhm.
To open it up, you have to put in 15, and that was hard to come up with that money. It wasn't
Mhm.
easy, but so I was able to come up with the money to open it, and ever since I opened it, I haven't put one more cent into it. Like I haven't been able to afford it to put
No.
any more money into it, right? So they keep saying, well, you can put all this other money into it. Well,
How?
what money? I don't have any money. But luckily, I mean, even with $1,500, you know, it has grown to almost $20,000 now, even with
Yeah.
a one-time contribution of 1,500.
Wow.
So that's good.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
I mean, they keep saying, well, just now I'm too old to even contribute more to it. But
Well, yeah, because 49 is the cutoff year.
yeah, but every
might-
year they would say, you know, put more money in, and I was like, I can't put more money in. Like what money? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
I don't have any.
I remember when I had MP Peter Julian on. We were talking about the RDSP, that one episode that we had on, and when I mentioned Sonia and myself had met up with MP Peter Julian at a convention, talking about the RDSP on how it works, and I didn't even know this, that you can only contribute until you're 49 years old,
49. Yep.
and then they say they can only retroactive back so many years. So I said, well, I'm over 49. Can I retroact that back? And he goes, unfortunately, no. It's how the feds have everything all set up. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And also when you go to take the money out, you can't take it all out right away either.
Nope.
You have to take it out like
Portions.
little bit by little bit. Yeah.
And what I
Monthly
worry
pay-
about
I
is
think it's set up for monthly payments.
which I didn't even realize too. I didn't realize it was drip fed to you afterwards.
In monthly payments, from what I read on the letter.
what I worry about is they're going to try and claw that off.
Well, I mean, you do pay
I hope
tax
not.
on it. You do pay
Yeah.
tax on it when you would take the money out. You'll pay tax on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's at a certain date, I think, or a certain age.
I think so. Yeah.
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 Well, it's when I turn 60, I can take it out.
Oh,
Yes.
right. That's you did say that.
Yeah,
60.
you have to turn 60 and then you can take it out. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if you take it out before then, you lose all the federal government.
That's correct.
portion
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, they'll take away all the money
goes
that they
back
can-
to it goes back to nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll
Anyway,
claw it off it.
we've come to the end of the show already. This is
Wow,
great.
that's-
This is great. I love that you were the first, and I mean, you say you're not a maritimer.
No.
Because St. John's or Newfoundland is their own thing, but
We're our own
but
thing. Yeah.
this was fun though. I like this. Yeah.
Yeah, so Chad, before we end the episode today, we'll talk a little bit about weather there. So, how is the weather in Newfoundland?
Good now.
Like for the storms, like do you get wicked storms through there?
I mean, when it's windy air, we call that a good day.
Oh,
Right?
oh, geez.
You know,
Yeah.
but we've had our fair shares. Oh yeah, I mean, like I remember back when Hurricane Eagle hit, I was working at the airport,
right.
and I mean, we had a mobile trailer, and I mean, we were basically walking on the walls. It was that windy.
Wow.
Air Canada landed on runway 16, and they couldn't let the passengers off because they couldn't move the jet bridges.
Oh wow.
Oh
They
my!
were stuck it on the runway.
Oh wow.
Wow!
Yeah.
You almost thought you were in like Wizard of Oz or something, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it's I mean, we still got snow on the ground here, but
Oh, wow.
oh,
I mean, we've had a lot more. Well, I mean, December we had no snow, and then all of a sudden hell broke loose, and we've probably had close to 100 centimeters of snow in February.
Mhm.
On
Whoa.
probably 1 week.
oh my!
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so on the
thought-
west we feel kind of spoiled when we only get a couple centimeters, and
And
people
our
are
snow,
kind of driving it.
our snow was wet snow, so it's heavy, right?
Oh,
So I mean, to walk
Oh.
out to my shed, I had to basically climb over a 12-foot snowdrift and slide down to get to my shed.
Oh, wow.
oh,
And oh yeah, I said a lot of prayers that day.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and when we had Snowmageddon, you couldn't even get out the house. Like I had to go out to the front door and swim
Wow.
to the back.
Dig a tunnel through it.
Yep. And
Yeah.
the poor old dogs were that confused because they usually went out the back door. And I mean, I just couldn't open it. You open up the back door, it was all white snow. 8 foot
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Right?
Oh, my.
And they were
So-
like, well, gotta go pee.
So,
You
No,
go.
Dave.
So if I sing, "Do you want to build a snowman?" You'll be like,
Yeah.
"No."
Yeah,
No.
just build a tunnel. Yeah.
A gigantic snowman then.
Oh, well, I mean, the plow had the snowbanks up higher than trucks. So I mean, that's a good.
Oh,
That's
my.
how high it was on side roads, like buried.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Chad, for coming on today.
Anytime, guys. Anytime.
This has been a fabulous episode, and I'd
fun,
like to extend the offer to have you come back on very soon.
If you want me back, I'm all for it. Yeah.
Most definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, I'd love to have you back on, and we can talk more about a lot of other disability topics.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, it was fun.
I appreciate you too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you,
sir.
Chad.
Take care now.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks everyone for tuning in today. Today, I had Chad come on here from St. John's, Newfoundland. It's been an awesome pleasure having Chad joining us, and also, Chad, the proud sponsor of Tim Hortons. Yeah, it's yeah. I have Tim Hortons there in my cup here too. I brewed it.
And we're still trying to get Michael Bublé to endorse the show too. But
That's
see.
right. That's
We'll
right,
see.
Michael. We haven't given up on you. Don't
How
worry.
about Ryan Reynolds? Saying he's from BC.
Ryan Reynolds too. Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, come on, Ryan. Come
I
on
got to
to
go
the
after
show.
Ryan Reynolds as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone
Yeah,
who
come on.
wants-
I'm an Ottawa Senators fan. He was supposed to buy the team, so come on, let's go.
There you go. Yeah.
or even Brittle Star. Hey, Brittle Star. Yeah, come on to the show. Yeah. It'd be great. But thanks everyone for tuning in today.
Yeah.
Take care.
Goodbye, everyone.